I'm great, teacher. Thank you very much. All
Did
good,
you
thanks.
did you go to the gym or are you gonna go to the gym?
After my breakfast and after the class, I go to the gym.
Okay, very nice,
Yeah.
excellent, Mickey. I was doing some research
Okay.
about the commercial wars that we're suffering now or enjoying. I don't know if it's for the bad or for the better. And there is interesting information about the wars. There's been many commercial wars in the U.S. and the world.
Yeah.
And I was checking that there's some wars as early as the 16th and 18th century. Let me share this with you and let's see
Thanks.
what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Because this affects the international commerce, or don't you think it will affect the commercial commerce? What's your opinion? Do you think these embargoes, tariffs, etc., will affect international trade or not so much?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it affects. And I think that, for example, the last case with Mexico and United States, it affects not only Mexico, it affects United States too, because at the end, uh, they are buying more than what they are exporting, and the majority of products, of goods that they purchase from Mexico are, fruits, vegetables. So I think that yeah, would impact to United States people too, to
Do you?
Americans.
Yeah, absolutely. What you say is very true. Do you think some products can be categorized as commodities, others can be categorized as trivial or non-sensible, and some others can be categorized as sensible products for both countries, or I mean, or for every country?
Yeah, of course. Hmm.
Which ones would you think that are sensible products, for example, for us and for them? Which would be sensible products for them or for us?
Well, I would say that sensible products are products that you need to, in occasions, to survive. For example, I think that products as food would be a sensible product.
Yeah, exactly. And that product should be something that you don't produce, or at least easily, or at least very cost effectively, right?
Yeah.
For example, we produce corn. Yeah, we have enough to produce, but it's not very cheap the way we produce corn. So that's why we import thousands and thousands of tons from the US. So we would say that is, and also our diet is heavily based on corn. For example, if we want to eat tortillas,
Tortillas. Yeah.
bread, right? So, what about other possible or potential sensible products, Mickey?
Oh. What else could be to Mexico or the United States?
For both, sensible
Well,
sensible products for Mexico or for the U.S.
now that it's gonna be the Super Bowl, avocado to United States.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'd be avocado, and that is sensible for a season or for a period of time, right? What
Yeah.
about a product that would be sensible permanently?
Mm, um, well, I'm not sure, but one time I read that uh, in so many cases, rice that we purchase here in Mexico are not produced in Mexico, are produced in United States.
Okay, rice. Uh, I'm retrieving a table. Let
Uh-huh.
me share this with you. This is really interesting, and it's yeah. Let me share this table with you. Yeah, do we have in agriculture? In Let me share it with you. I'll paste it here at the end. Then we discuss. Well, no, I'll paste it at the beginning. Let me put this here. Here's a table. Let's take a look at it and see what you think. For example, Mickey, we have the first category, which is agriculture. Can you give it a quick read and then
Yeah.
maybe we discuss it?
hmm Agriculture in Mexico. Mm, maize. How can I pronounce it?
Yeah, maize or
Maize.
maize. Yeah, yeah,
Maize, beans, sugar, agave, coffee, avocado, and United States, dairy, sugar, cotton, maize, and peanuts.
why do you think dairy is sensible in the U.S.? That's all the products which are derivatives of milk,
Of milk,
cream, yogurt, yeah,
cheese.
cheese.
Well, I think that for United States will be so sensible because I know that they apply well in Mexico too, but I have seen cases that people that their breakfast is cereal with milk and that's all every day
Yeah,
or coffee. So yeah, I imagine that it's so important into Mexico too.
for us as well, right? Yeah, that's
Mhm.
true. That's true. And then we have the second category, which is energy. Uh,
Mhm.
Look at that.
Petroleum, natural gas, electricity. In United States, crude oil, natural gas, rare earth elements.
Yeah, that sounds strange. Why would it be a sensible product for the US? Rare earth elements.
Rare earth elements. I don't know. Probably I would imagine. What was this? Lithium, for example.
Lithium, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, to make batteries.
Yeah.
That is true. Okay, that'd be important for them. So they
hmm
need to have this type of element. Good, yeah, good connection. Then we have the automotive.
Automotive, auto parts, electric vehicles. United States, steel, aluminum, electric vehicles.
Yeah, obviously because we're starting to produce more and more electric vehicles, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about the trend? Some people argue that Chinese cars are becoming significantly better and better. Do you agree with that, Mickey? What's your opinion about the quality? How do you measure quality in the market?
I consider that you measure quality in the market during the time. I think that it's difficult to establish or just to say, yeah, they have quality if just past 2 or 3 years. I think that really you're gonna see if a product has quality or not uh, through the time. Uh, but something that I have seen in not in all Chinese brands, but in many of them, is that they are applying like an extended warranty of their products. I remember one promotion. It was from Chang'an. Chang'an, I think that is the name of this group of different Chinese brands, and they say that in case that they don't have uh, the auto part that your car require, they can give you another car to use instead of waiting for for that part. So in a way, I think that they are trying to to in a way conquer the Mexican market in this case, and well, it's a reality. You can see in the streets now that there are so many Chinese brands in the streets. So I think that they are doing okay, but as I said in the beginning, I think that we're gonna see if it works or not during the time.
Yeah, that is true. Yesterday, I was having a couple of hamburgers with a friend of mine who's a major in commerce as well, international trade, and he mentioned something to me about this topic, this very topic. This brand, Build Your Dreams, which is a Chinese brand, I believe.
Yeah,
Build Your Dreams. He said to me that it has a huge spread and position in South America and Latin America,
yeah,
among other brands. Uh, well, I didn't know that they have already conquered or they are already conquering the Latin American market, not only Mexico but the Latin American market, and that is prevalent in other products as well. For example, 5 years ago, I went to Cuba and I saw lots of electric motorcycles in Cuba, noiseless. They had no noise at all, and they were at that time $700. And they said that they were more or less that they had some issues with them, but that they were improving. And also, what you said that they were offering good service in case that you had an issue with them. And
Mhm.
obviously, I believe the Chinese are very good at building huge consortiums,
Yeah.
and they acquire the technology, they transform it, and they improve it. For example, they just, I don't know how recent is the DeepSeek. Did you know that there is now the DeepSeek?
Yeah. From Nvidia, right? This Chinese brand.
Well, I don't know who the author was. I know that it was Chinese, or that is
Yeah.
Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
DeepSeek. It looks an absolute copy of ChatGPT, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. Actually, I haven't tried, but I have seen threads on Twitter and that stuff where people ask to DeepSeek and the way how it answers uh, and the velocity and everything. It looks so interesting. Obviously, there's always a purpose, right? There's always a purpose why they create this AI. In a way, I think that it's a competition between China and United States to. I don't know. I can more or less relate it to try to go to the moon. You know, now the competition is this AI.
Yeah.
It is so interesting, but I think that people must be careful too because you can see every day that every day is a new AI, and in a way humans can be a little bit outdated with this type of tools. But yeah, it is so interesting. And something that takes my attention it was like it was that someone asked about Taiwan and China to DeepSeek, and DeepSeek says that like yeah, Taiwan is part of China. China always support Taiwan. So you know that there is like this conflict between yeah, I think that is Taiwan, right? Taiwan and China.
Yeah.
And the way how DeepSeek defends China was you can notice just to read the first two paragraphs.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you ask about the Chinese government, they didn't give you an answer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Well, that's
Hmm.
interesting. Obviously, that leads you to think that you cannot criticize the government as you can in the US, actually. That's one of the positive things that I believe they have, that you can, or you could before Trump, right? You could criticize the government, and if you weren't happy about anything, you were able to voice your concern or your disgust or your anger, whatever. You were able to do it.
Hmm.
Um, and with China is more a repressive system.
Yeah.
Well, similar with Bukele, I was watching an interview over there that some people were criticizing him. A journalist said to him openly in a conference, "Well, it looks like you're a dictator and that you are putting 1% of the people in prison." And he gave a very interesting answer. He said, "No, actually, 99% of the people who went in prison were liberated because the whole country was in prison. So we were living 99% of the people." Well, that's another way of seeing it, right?
Yeah, it was an smart answer.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, let's go back for a moment to the next section, which is technology. Uh,
Technology, semiconductors, lithium, telecommunications, and United States semiconductors, AI, cybersecurity, equipment. Now that here says lithium, I'm not sure about what means rare earth elements.
uh, Rare elements are possibly elements that you need to make sophisticated equipment. Um, for example, when you do controlled demolition, if you do controlled demolition, there is a material called nanothermite, which is used only by the military in the US. Nanothermite is a product that the U.S. government uses for specific purposes. Many of them are
Mhm.
classified, not all of them, and uh, they make it out of rare elements. So they use it, I would say, for military applications, but also civil applications like demolitions, control demolitions. When you have a building which is very old and you want to demolish it, well, what you resort to this type of products, elements, right?
Okay, I got you. Okay, okay. Yeah, now makes sense.
Yeah. Well, the next section is pharmaceuticals.
Pharmaceuticals, generic medicines, vaccines, biopharmaceuticals, and medical devices.
Yeah. What do you think about this, Mickey?
Um, yeah, of course. I think that obviously both are correlated. Um it is so important medical devices, but it is so important generic medicines. Now that I see here that says generic medicines, I think that what was this country that imposed tariffs to Mexico and like it was like a meme, Ecuador, or it
I
was
believe so. Yeah.
yeah, and I have seen so many memes about it because it was like, oh my god, how why Ecuador, and the majority of memes that I saw talk about the generic medicines. Like, okay, now you're imposing a tariff to Mexico of 20%, I think so, and all the medicines that you purchase from them now now is gonna increase the 20% of the price. So yeah, it is. I don't know. Well, obviously, probably the reason why Ecuador did that is to give like a support to United States, but it is Ecuador. It is not Canada. It is not a, a country that really Mexico have so many businesses with them.
Yeah. Can you look up for a table that gives you the gross domestic product, let's say US, Canada, Mexico, Ecuador, and possibly El Salvador, Mickey, please? Do you think you can produce a
Yeah.
table like that? Gross domestic product, table of gross domestic product of these countries, Canada, US, maybe China as a reference. I think it'd be interesting.
Okay.
Please, because that's something we talked about yesterday too with my friend. Actually,
Uh-huh.
his tocayo is Miguel, and
Okay.
it was very funny to what he said to me. But he also made a point. He said that the way we look at Ecuador, which is 1/10 of our economy, is more or less how the US looks at us, which we are probably 1/10 of their economy. Maybe not. That's why.
Well, yeah, yeah, probably. I think that more than 110, but of course, Mexico, USA, China, Ecuador, and what is another one?
Maybe El Salvador, because I think Bukele also mentioned something about imposing tariffs or barriers, trade barriers. I didn't see that myself. My friend said that to me yesterday.
I don't know. I'm gonna search it too.
So,
Yeah, I asked to ChatGPT.
yeah, great. Yeah, yeah. It's a great source. You can ask him to produce a table with this information, and it will
Yeah,
give you.
yeah, it already did it. If you want, let me
Can you
share it.
share? Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Can you see it?
Yeah, now I can see it. I got it. Okay. There it says gross domestic product. Trillion. Well, it's more than 10 times, Mickey.
Wow.
It
Almost
is
30 times. Well, no. Like 15 times, more or less. 15, 18 times.
15, 18 times. Yes. 29 into almost 2, 15 times. Yeah, 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 that's true. Ecuador, what is 1.79 trillion into 108.4 billion?
Like 10 times.
10
Well,
times?
more or less, right?
Is it? Yeah, right.
More or less.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
In
That's
Ecuador, 26.1 billion.
right. Yes. And what is the difference in per capita? Well, 82,000 per capita in the US, China 12, Mexico 13. So we're ahead of China in this sense, in this item. We produce more than China per capita. That's that's revealing.
Yeah. Per capita. It's related to the amount of people that they have, right?
Yeah, you divide the whole production of the country into the people that you have in the country. Well, in productive lives, I think, in productive
Mm-hmm.
station. Yeah.
Ah, okay,
So
yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know at this moment how many people is in China, but I think that it was more than 1 billion, right?
yeah, I think they were at 1.3, and I believe that um, what is this country? India
It's
has
now
already surpassed
the
them.
most populated, right?
Yeah, yeah, they have surpassed them now, which is incredible. It's amazing. How can this be, right? Let me see. Population of these countries. Population of China, India, US, Germany, Mexico. What other countries? Let's see. France, El Salvador, and their gross domestic product per capita. Just to
Do you want to share
just
it?
yeah, I want to produce this table, and then I'll share this with you in a moment.
Thank you.
So yeah, let me share it. It's incredible. Uh, El Salvador, right? I'll share that here. Here. All right. What do you think about this table, Mickey? China, India, US.
Wow, a lot of people.
Yeah, 1.4 billion. That's
In both
amazing.
countries, 1 point. Yeah, it's supposed that the total world population it was like what, 8 billion, more or less.
Yeah, I one time it was seven, then I believe now it is eight billion people. Yeah,
So
just China and
between China and
India
India, 2.8 billion,
make 30% of the world's population,
one third part.
almost
Yeah, yeah.
one third.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's a lot of people.
In the
And look
United
at
States, three times the amount of people of Mexico. Well, almost three times, 2.7, 2.6 times.
the US. Yeah, yeah. And the per capita productivity, well, the US, then Germany, France. How do you explain this macroeconomic value, Mickey? Gross domestic product per capita. How do you explain that there is so much productivity in some countries like the US, Germany, France, and some other countries with lots of resources have what is called apparently very low productivity per capita? What would that be?
Mm, well, I understand that these indicators show us like the total amount of goods and services that are produced in a specific country during a year, and is divided between the amount of people of that country, right?
Yes. Yeah, but which are the factors that impact the gross domestic product? In other words, why is it so high in some countries, Germany, France, the US, and in some others it's so low, really?
Mm, well, probably because, well, if we compare India with, I don't know, France, I think that it's because for the amount of people that they have, because it's divided for all of them.
Divided by all of them, right? Yeah, could
Mhm.
be. Um, yeah. Well, I was looking for some of the explanations, and let me share this with you why apparently some countries have such a high productivity, like, well, the US.
Mhm.
I don't know if I agree totally, but well, I should agree, I guess, right? Yeah, let me share this with you. Look, well, the top countries that have a higher income are the U.S., Germany, and France. Maybe you want to take a look at this explanation and see what you think, and if you agree with this, Mickey. Gross domestic product per capita.
Why drop domestic product per capita is high in some countries, example US, Germany, France. Uh, Highly developed industries, countries like the United States, Germany, and France have a strong manufacturing, finance, and technology sectors. They produce high value goods and services such as cars, pharmaceuticals, and software. Advanced technology and innovation, investment in research and development leads to productivity growth. The US leads in AI, biotechnology, and semiconductors, contributing to high GDP.
Yeah.
Efficient institutions and infrastructure, strong financial systems, efficient legal systems, and well-developed infrastructure improve business productivity. Fourth, high productivity and skilled labor. Countries with educated workforces, example Germany's, technical training programs have higher productivity and
Wages.
wages. Uh, Global trade and investments. Countries with large exports, Germany in automobiles, the US in tech and finance, generate significant revenue from global markets. And sixth, a strong consumer market and services sector. High purchasing power boosts industries like finance, entertainment, and healthcare.
What do you think of all this explanation, Mickey? Do you fully agree? Do you have another comment? Um, is there a way for countries like Mexico and other ones to improve in any of these? What's your general comment about this, Mickey?
Mm, well, of course, I think that mostly here in these examples put like United States as a reference. They almost don't mention to Germany and France, not as much as United States. Mm, I imagine that it is true that they have good infrastructure, that they have um obviously a good business productivity. Um, but I don't know. Probably what Mexico must to focus is in. I don't know. I don't want to sound like pessimist, but I think that if we compare with this type of countries that they have a lot of history, that they have a lot of, uh, well, they have more experience than us. Um, it is not always good, but I think that in a way, there are certain things that we can apply, and 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 I don't agree with all this. For example, if you say like high purchasing power boosts industries like finance, determined, and healthcare. And until I know, I think the United States almost all people there is in debt because they cannot pay, for example, healthcare because it is so expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Probably we need to do an analysis of all these examples.
Right. And also, when we take a look at gross domestic product per capita, well, yeah, that's one indicator, but it doesn't mean that people live happy. Maybe they live under a lot of stress. It's like if you go to a prison, you say, well, this prison produces more per capita than any other country in the world. Yeah, because the poor prisoners are working 16, 18 hours per day with no with no income, right?
It's true.
So
Yeah.
we need to take into consideration other parameters, not only gross domestic product,
Hmm.
but then what else can we take? Well, there is what is called the Human Development Index, which is an index that you can, Human Development Index, HDI. I believe it's a Human Development Index. But also here, I don't know if we are ranking very high because also we need to develop social and human values as a whole in a society, because you have indicators, you have economic indicators, you have social indicators, you have environmental indicators. What other type of indicators can we have? I mean, what do you think about that, Mickey? Something that indicates how well a country or a society is performing. What do you think?
Well, probably it is difficult to measure, but happiness.
Happiness, yeah, that's a good one. Happiness. There should be an indicator. Let's check if there is an indicator about that. Can we, Mickey, please?
Yeah, actually, I was searching, and it says that according uh, worldwide inform about happiness in 2024, it was created by ONU.
United
In-
Nations
yeah,
Organization, UNO.
United
Yeah.
Nations Organization. Yeah, uh, Finland is the happiest country in the world, followed by Denmark, Iceland, and Sweden.
Sweden. Wow.
Sweden, yeah.
How do we rank in Mexico? What's Mexico's ranking in the happiness index?
Let me check.
Just out of curiosity, highest ranking countries in the happiness scale, including Mexico.
Mm, mm, mm.
Happiness report.
The position 25.
Position 25.
It's supposed that in 2023 we were in the position number 35. So the last year, it's supposed like we advanced in places,
We're becoming happier.
becoming happier. I don't know how they measure that, to be honest.
That's a good question. I have no idea either. Maybe they make surveys. How would you measure it? If they ask you to measure that, if they assign you this project, how would you measure the happiness scale? How would you make it? Scale of happiness.
Yeah, well, I will imagine that with uh, surveys. Mm, yeah, I think that it's the easier way to do it. But
Right.
I asked here mm, how they measure that, and it's supposed that they evaluate six key factors. The first one, GDP per capita.
Oh, okay.
The second one, social support, the perception of having someone to rely on in difficult times. The third one, healthy life expectancy, the average number of healthy years a person is expected to live. The fourth, freedom to make life choices, people's perception of their ability to make key life decisions. Five, generosity, levels of charitable giving and social support. And the sixth one, perception of corruption, trust in government and businesses.
I don't know how we rank 25, to be honest.
I don't know. I don't know.
But it's a good scale, Mickey. Thank you. Yeah. I included in the table United States, Germany, and Mexico. Guess what the ranking is? It's
I
ranking
don't
20.
know.
Okay, what do you think?
The United States?
Yeah.
Give me a hint. Is higher or
Close
lower
to
than Mexico?
Mexico. Close to Mexico. Very close.
22.
23 actually. Germany,
Is closest to Mexico too?
close to Mexico and close to the US.
20.
24, right above Mexico.
Oh, so
Mexico, Germany, and the US, the three are together. So the level of happiness, Mexico, Germany, and the US is very similar, almost equivalent. Hard to believe, right?
yeah. Yeah, it's hard to believe.
I mean, if they ask you to say, if they ask you, Mickey, where do you want to live so that you are exactly as happy in each of the different countries, you could say Mexico, Germany, or the US and be accurate.
Yeah. Wow.
It's funny, right?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Let me show you
I
this.
didn't expect that.
What do you make of this? Why can it be so close?
Happiness score. uh, I don't know. Well, something that I have seen is that normally people near from the ocean are happiest than people that don't.
Yeah, that's true. And if you are more like in Mediterranean, you tend to be happier. Mainly, I believe. Well, let's see. What is the impact? What is the influence of vitamin D to your perception of happiness, or to your feeling of happiness? Do you think is there a dependency? Is there? Does it depend on your feeling well, or it does not? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that yeah, it is a key factor too. Actually, one friend, he lives here in Irpuato, went. Well, I think that tomorrow he's gonna come back from England, and he mentioned that the first 3 days he felt like depressed because there was no sun. There was always raining. Um, he felt tired. Obviously, I think that is related to with jet lag and all stuff. But yeah, he said like, "Oh my God, it's so sad here," but it's because there's no uh, so much sun as here in Mexico. So yeah, I think that it is a factor.
So probably researchers should correlate your exposition to sunlight,
Yeah,
because it says that vitamin D production is related to happiness.
yeah.
And believe it or not, when I went to Cuba 5 years ago, people looked happy. They were extremely poor. I mean, they barely had anything to eat, but they were all making jokes, funny. They were joyful. They looked really like if they were in buoyant condition, and they really weren't. But I believe that if you relate the exposition to the sun, to the sunlight, to your level of happiness, is obviously because it provokes the production of vitamin D.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. One time I read something about Cuba, and yeah, they say that people, uh, obviously, they know in the situation that they live, obviously, but that people seems happy. So yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah. So, well, that would be an interesting research to carry out. Well,
Yeah.
let me. Yeah. Some some countries like Mexico, India, El Salvador, to some extent, seem to be low in GDP, right? As it says here. Let's analyze the reasons if we agree with that. Nikki, please, can you take a look at this?
Hmm. Why GDP per capita is low in some countries, example India, El Salvador, Mexico to some extent. Economic structure, agricultural dependence. Countries with a large agriculture-based economy tend to have lower productivity and wages. India and El Salvador still rely on agriculture, which generates lower GDP per worker than industry or services.
Okay, here I'd like to make a parenthesis. Yeah, it generates lower GDP. However, we need food to eat, right? I mean, not we, all the world needs food to eat. So, how can you present, how can you avoid being a produce food. We need it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, I don't know if you have seen cases like Japan that they want to buy a watermelon and the cost is 20, $25 just one watermelon. So in a
Yes,
way, yeah, we're lucky for that.
exactly. Do you think that due to the tariffs that Trump is pretending to impose on Mexico, we're going to expand other ways to do commerce or trade, like with Japan, maybe China, Singapore, and Asian countries? Or what do you think about that, Mickey?
I don't know. Well, I have seen like the position of the president, and in a way, yeah, I think that it is important. It will be something good to be more and more independent from the United States. But I think that it's something that requires time. I don't think that just from one day to other we're gonna start to do. Yeah, obviously we are free to do that, but in a way, I think that well, yeah, I'm sure that our first commercial country is United States, so I think that it's something that requires time, but in a way, it is necessary and will be a good time to start doing and expand our commerces.
Okay. Uh, Let me generate a table. Alternative countries. I'm asking the artificial intelligence to generate a table of US products and potential alternative countries. In other words, if you are sending avocados to the US and one day they decide not to buy from you anymore, where would you place these products? In which countries? That kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Uh, well, for example, let me share this table with you. It's really interesting because if you don't sell something in one place, you can always look for a new market. And it's giving you a table here. There's a table here. Let me share this with you, Mickey.
Thank you.
This is this table. Okay. For example, vehicles, cars and parts. So they say that we are exporting 112 billion in cars to the US. But these cars, the owners are mostly Americans, are they? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, for example, well, Americans in well, for example, here in Guanajuato is GM. But it was another one. Well, Mazda in Silao, I think so. Silao, Salamanca, I don't remember.
Mazda is in Salamanca.
Salamanca.
Yeah.
Mm, there's now one in well, there are two in BMW, one in Puebla and the other one in San Luis. So yeah, it's supposed they were negotiating, but I think that they canceled the project. That one Chinese group of vehicles will be established here in. They were fighting between Leon and San Luis, but I think that they canceled the project. I don't know the reason, but yeah, I think that this moment it is suspended. I don't know if totally canceled, but it is suspended. Probably for
Already.
the same reason that the government now uh, there are so much how to say like uncertainty between what could happen.
Really? Uncertainty?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably it's for that. But yeah, it's supposed that Changan, actually the group that I mentioned, will establish a mega factory here in Mexico. Uh, but I don't know what happened then.
Okay. That's impressive. Yeah. Imagine it makes sense if the Japanese, if the Germans, if the French, if the Americans have factories in Mexico, why not the Chinese, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, because at the end we know that the final client will be United States. That's why they they put their factories here in Mexico because it is easier to export to the US.
Yeah, and the
Uh,
hand labor is very low or very cheap.
Baratas. Yeah.
Yeah, which, well, that's in vehicles. We have machinery and mechanical appliances, alternative markets in China itself. I didn't know that.
China.
Yeah. Sending machinery and mechanical appliances to Canada, China, and Germany. Who would imagine that?
Yeah, I will believe in Canada and Germany, but I don't know China. It's a surprise.
Yeah, because they seem to produce everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Why
yeah.
would they buy from Mexico if they can produce it over there? It's
Mhm.
surprising. Then we have electrical machinery and equipment.
South Korea. Hablamos de South Korea, India, and Vietnam.
Yeah, the three of them are Asian countries, right? Vietnam is in Asia as well. Yeah, South
Yeah.
Korea. Yeah, Asian countries.
Hmm.
And then we have,
Optical,
yeah.
tech,
Go ahead, Mickey. Go ahead.
optical, technical, and medical apparatus. United Kingdom, France, and Italy. Now European countries.
Yeah, that's true. And furniture, bedding, and lighting. Australia, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia. Who would imagine? And then these are derivatives of oil or petroleum, plastics and plastic articles.
Spain, Netherlands, and Turkey. European countries too.
Yeah. The next one.
Beverages, spirits, and vinegar. United Kingdom, Japan, and Canada.
Okay, interesting. And then vegetables.
Edible vegetables and certain roots. Canada, Japan, European Union.
Yeah, Mexico already exports lots of lemons and oranges from Veracruz to Poland, for example.
To Poland.
Poland. You would imagine Poland, but why in Poland? Well, yeah, Poland is a big importer of citrus or citrus like lemons, oranges, tangerines, grapefruits from Mexico, mostly from Veracruz.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Poland is a big importer. The U.S., of course, is another big importer of lemons in
Yeah,
Laredo. And then we have two more lines, Mickey.
yeah. Articles of iron or steel. United Arab Emirates, South Africa, India. Edible fruits and nuts. China, South Korea, and Canada.
So the total of trade that we have with the US, how much is this approximately? 112, 90, 200, 300. Total would be like maybe 400 billion
Yeah, more or less.
approximately. It's a lot of money.
Hmm.
400 billion in commercial trade. And who's got the upper hand? Who has the commercial, the favorable, the surplus in commercial trade between Mexico and the US? Do you know?
The what?
The balance, what's the balance in commercial trade between Mexico and the US?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Let me
Could
search
you
it.
look it up, please? What's the commercial balance, the trade balance between the US and Mexico, please, Mickey,
Hmm.
if you can? Because that's interesting to know how is the balance between Mexico and the US in trade, also with China, maybe. Amazing that we can find this information in a just pushing a button, right? Almost.
Well, here says that in 2024, the United States recorded a trade deficit of approximately 172 billion with Mexico, marking it as one of the largest trade deficits for the US that year. Throughout the year, Mexico maintained its position as the United States' top trading partner, with total trade between the two nations reaching record levels. In the first quarter of 2024, trade between Mexico and the US totaled 200.1 billion, a 1.7% year-over-year increase. And let me check it with China.
Yes, Mickey, thank you.
In 2024, the United States recorded a trade deficit of approximately 295 billion with China, making it the largest trade deficit the US had with any country that year.
Wow.
This figure represents an increase from the previous year, though it remains below the peak deficit of 418 billion observed in 2018. The persistent trade imbalance is influenced by various factors, including the US high demand for imported goods and China's role as a major global manufacturing hub. US trade
Wow.
deficit with China reaches 295 billion in 2024. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. Incredible. I was checking a similar figure for Mexico. We are at a trade balance of minus 72.4 billion with China and minus 10.2 billion with Germany and plus 91 billion with the US. Let me share this with you, Mickey. It's really interesting how the trade balance is of Mexico with other countries, which is interesting to know because um,
No, Ceci, todo bien. Todo bien, Ceci,
sharing,
gracias.
I don't know if I am sharing or not. Am I sharing yet or not?
No.
Let me share here. Okay, here. This is trade, exports from Mexico, imports to Mexico, and trade balance. What do you make of this table, Mickey? What do you notice?
Well, the trade balance between imports and exports. No, this is a good comparison table. Yeah, it's supposed that the trade balance was plus 91 billion
With the US, yeah.
with the US. The exports from Mexico to China were 10.6 billion, and the imports 83 point billion.
Well,
So it was, uh, how can I say it? Like the correct way to do it, minus 72.4 billion.
minus 72.4 billion. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
deficit for Mexico. Trade deficit or negative balance minus
yeah,
72.4 billion for
yeah.
Mexico.
In a way, we import more than what we export to that country, to China in this case.
But dramatically more, Mickey. It's 83 versus 10. It's one for eight elements.
Yeah,
You import one, I mean, you export one, you import eight elements.
and the same with Germany. We import more than what we export to that country, with a
Yeah,
balance of minus 10.2 billion.
but that seems unreasonable to me, at least, because what do we import from Germany? I
And
know.
that was what I was asking.
Yeah,
What,
okay, let's
yeah,
take a look at it.
I don't know.
Let's see what we are importing from these countries. Because possibly we could replace some of those items, don't you think, Mickey?
Yeah, yeah, of course. What more impacts was the case with Germany. Obviously, I imagine that we import more than what we export with China, but with Germany, I don't know.
Because I know that we export honey, for example, that we are the first exporter of honey to Germany from Latin America.
Uh,
That's what I thought. Let's see. Can you take a look, Mickey, please? Table
yeah.
imports and exports, Mexico, Germany. Okay. Let's see what they say. Helicopters, spacecraft. What did it tell you?
I cannot see it.
No, no, no. I was asking if you could find the information,
Ah, okay, okay.
please. How what we are producing from what we are exporting to Germany and what we are importing from Germany. Please, Mickey.
Here says that the primary exports from Germany to Mexico include motor vehicles and parts. This category encompasses a range of automotive products reflecting the strong automotive industries in both countries. Aircraft and spacecraft: Germany supplies Mexico with various aerospace products, including planes, helicopters, and cars. Finished automobiles are a significant component of Germany's exports to Mexico. And conversely, Mexico exported goods valued at approximately 11.17 billion to Germany in 2023. The main exports from Mexico to Germany are cars. Finnish automobile constitute a substantial portion of Mexico's exports to Germany. Orthopedic appliances, medical devices, particularly orthopedic appliances, are significant exports from Mexico to Germany. And motor vehicle parts and accessories. This includes various components used in the automotive industry. Yeah, well, it's supposed that it's particularly in the automotive and aerospace sectors.
Right. Could be interesting to know if this. I believe it is complex because the automobile sector has different owners. The supply chain is very extensive and is very integrated. So one product can be manufactured in China, then it is sent to Mexico. It's a subassembly now, and then as a subassembly, you send it somewhere else, and they make another assembly. So it's a
Hmm.
bit complex. What do you think of this situation, Mickey, where you have different subassemblies being manufactured or assembled in different countries?
Yeah, of course. It is so difficult to measure. For example, you can see in Puerto Interior, Castro del Rio, in all the industrial parks, there are companies that, for example, just focus on doors of the car, but at the end, the final product that is the door they send to other countries, and yeah, they are sending and sending from one country to other. So I think that it is difficult to measure because we need to be really involved in all the supply chain. But it is interesting, and I imagine that in internet there must be like uh, more or less the the supply chain process that in this case Mexico and other countries has.
Yeah. So, if you were to become an analyst for the Mexican government, if they told you, Mickey, we need you to develop a process to influence our productive scheme, our product development processes and industry, and give advice on where should we focus more, what we should start ignoring or disposing. Let's dispose of this industry which is not very relevant in terms of social benefit, economic benefit, or if they wanted to realign the productive sector. Broadly speaking, how would you do it?
Well, it is a complex question. I think that it's important to see where we stand for. Obviously, see the countries where we export the automotive parts, and see if it is possible to apply other procedures that cars or auto parts requires here in Mexico. To Because, well, I think that we have the hand labor. It is not expensive. That's why so many factories are located here. Um, but yeah, well, it's a process because you know that one part is related with the with other. So So yeah, I think that it's important to see the capacity that our hand labor has, and see if we can expand with other probably auto parts, and if we can finish more well, if we can have at the end the final product here in Mexico and export it the final product, I think that will be much better than just auto parts.
Right, to do the whole assembly in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Which I believe we do for some companies, like for General Motors. We assemble sub-assemblies,
Hmm.
we put them all together, and we produce the whole car,
Yeah.
terminated, finished product.
Yeah, I think that, for example, in BMW, I remember that there were three models that the final product finished here in San Luis. I remember that it was the BMW Coupe 2, BMW Series 3, and I remember the another one. But it is funny. They mentioned that just the 3% of the final products that are finishing here in Mexico finish here in Mexico. The majority of them goes to other parts, to other countries. Just the 3% stays here in Mexico of
As finished
BMW,
product.
the finished products. Yeah,
That's very little, right? Apparently.
yeah, it is. But well, you know that those cars, the cost is above 800,000 pesos, so not all people can can purchase those countries, those cars. Sorry.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Well, it's very interesting, Mickey. We had an interesting commercial conversation today, many technical terms and
Yeah, it's true.
ideas, right?
It's interesting. Yeah. Thank you
Maybe
very
one day
much.
you will be giving all this information to the government or to the states, to the
Yeah.
Chamber of Commerce. Who knows, right?
Why not? Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, let's take a little break, Mickey. Thank
Yes,
you
sure.
for sharing your ideas. See you
Thank
next
you for
week,
your
I
time.
guess.
Yeah, see you the next week. Just let me know which days you're free, and mostly in the mornings I'm free, so I
Okay.
can we can arrange it.
Okay. Excellent, Mickey. Thank you very much. Take care. I'll see you next week.
Take
Enjoy and
care,
say hello
Christian.
to the family.
You too. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.
Thank you.